I just got through watching the Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley match from last night here on my lunch break, and I know that it was a decision victory for Jake Paul in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. Personally, I scored the fight a draw. I had it 4 rounds to 4. I know the final punch stat numbers were, 71 landed out of 207 thrown for Paul, 34%, with 53 landed out of 163 for Woodley at 32%. So they were right there. Obviously, Paul landed 18 more punches according to the CompuBox punch stat numbers. I noticed that it seemed like a lot of those punches were like push, towards the later rounds were like push punches, jabs to the stomach that didn't seem like snappy punches at all. And maybe a couple of them that landed off the gloves may have been counted. Who knows? I had it as an even fight, a draw. If you're looking for a demonstration of the sweet science of boxing, this is not the fight for you. I was a little bit surprised that Woodley, I know he's an MMA fighter. He was a champion MMA fighter. I know boxing's different. But when you're fighting in MMA, you're still utilizing boxing. You're still utilizing hand strikes. So I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't know how to cut off the ring. Seemed like he didn't know how to slip any punches or bob or weave or even have any type of effective body attack whatsoever. Credit to Jake Paul. He at least was trying to throw jabs and hooks to the body. And he was backing up most of the fight. Jake Paul, he did land effective punches, of course, as did Woodley. I feel like Woodley's most effective attack was his counter right hand over the lazy jab of Jake Paul. He did land that effectively, and he did land a few left hooks. Yeah, I seen that fight as a draw. Credit to Jake Paul. I know he hasn't fought a real boxer yet. In his last 2 fights since his debacle with Nate Robinson, he did fight 2 former MMA, 2 former UFC fighters. So credit to that. He fought actual fighters. I don't think Ben Askren was really there to even try to fight. First round KO. You can question whether that was legitimate or not. That's up to you. You can watch that. This fight with Woodley, obviously, he was never really able to effectively stun Woodley. He did land some punches to keep Woodley off of him. Neither one of them seemed to have great punching power at this weight versus each other, but they did land some good shots. Woodley landed some shots that stunned Paul, some stiff jabs. So I had an overall even fight. I'm just surprised that Woodley, for being a fighter, was not very good at boxing. Now, I get it. He's an MMA fighter. It's a different skill set, but boxing, throwing your hands is still part of that skill set. And had he just known how to do some basic things, like I said, some basic defensive, evasive techniques, get up underneath some of Jake Paul's sloppy, wild swings that he was throwing, he could have ducked up underneath and maybe just tore up them ribs and came up with a double left hook off the ribs to the head. There was a lot there for Woodley to do, but then again, he's not an experienced boxer, and that's probably exactly why Jake Paul elected him as an opponent. He's got a strong championship pedigree as a fighter, so beating him even in a boxing match would still add some credibility to Jake Paul's name, because he is fighting a man who has a whole career of fighting, and this was his first pro boxing match, and it should probably be his last. I don't know, unless you're going to have him fight some other, washed up former UFC fighter who wants to be a boxer now. Could be, but a lot of the punches I seen Paul throwing were off the gloves of Woodley. And like I said, in the later rounds, he looked kind of tired. He was pushing his punches a bit. He did save enough energy to throw some snappy punches in here and there. But overall, it was an exhibition fight, 8 rounds. These guys aren't real boxers, but credit to Jake Paul. He is trying his best. He's doing what he can, and he's making the money. But this is, like I said, this is not a demonstration of the sweet science of boxing at all. This is an exhibition bout between essentially amateurs, a former MMA fighter and an amateur making better money than most pros are in Jake Paul. But yeah, I had it a draw. I don't care to see a rematch, and it is interesting to see where Jake Paul goes from here. Does he try to step up his level of competition and fight some really dangerous opponents, some real boxers, or does he continue to rake in the money, fighting people with the name and recognition who aren't really well adept at boxing, such as Tyron Woodley. I'm no expert. I just call it how I see it. You tell me what you think in the comments. Until next time, you and